The Taliban leadership landed in Kandahar, the birthplace of their movement, yesterday at sunset. The government of Qatar, where they've been living, provided the plane. Mullah Abdul Baradar, one of the Taliban's founders, was mobbed. He's likely to emerge as the most powerful political figure in a Taliban administration. After a decade in jail in Pakistan, he was released 3 years ago at the request of the Americans. Supporters greeted them as they drove away from the airport. The Americans had hoped negotiations with Baradar's team would lead to power sharing. But today, he and the Taliban have pretty much total power in Afghanistan. But not everyone accepts the new dispensation. Protesters ran through the streets of Jalalabad, 90 miles east of Kabul, with the Afghan national flag. They even tried to fly it in the central square in place of the Taliban flag. At least 3 people were killed and a dozen injured as Taliban fighters opened fire to disperse the crowd. People also flew the national flag in Asadabad. The flag is a symbol of the political system the Taliban plans to destroy. There were similar scenes in Khost. We fled from place to place. We walked together. All we want is peace in our land and an end to pain. The women singing at the airport are hoping to leave. We don't know who they are, because all they will show is their shadows. Outside the perimeter, Taliban fighters fired into the air to disperse the crowd still hoping to get on a flight somehow, while inside, diplomats, including the British ambassador, processed those with papers.
There are a lot of people descending on the airport. And, I should just say that these are just ordinary, desperate people trying to get themselves and their children out of a really difficult situation. It is interesting that the Taliban have chosen to support this operation. My assessment is that they see it as in their interests to help it to happen in an orderly and clear way. Obviously, it's in our interests for them to see it that way. So we're working with them where we need to at a tactical, practical level.
This is the house of a former military interpreter, ransacked, he says, by the Taliban. He's now in hiding.
I feel so unhappy, scared. If the US and UK troops withdraw from Afghanistan, Afghanistan will be back to 1998. I need to get out of Afghanistan as soon as possible.
Former President Karzai and chief negotiator Abdullah met Anas Haqqani today. Designated a terrorist by the US, but a powerful figure in the new Afghanistan. President Ashraf Ghani, speaking from the United Arab Emirates where he's fled, said he planned to return, but it's unclear if any Afghans would want him. The Taliban flag flies on a Humvee the Americans must have donated to the Afghan National Army, parked just near the British Embassy. Talibs are patrolling the largely peaceful streets of Kabul, and Afghans are getting used to their new reality.
Lindsay Hilson reporting. Well, earlier I spoke to Pashtana Durrani. She runs a charity in Kandahar which focuses on getting girls into education. She's had to move location a number of times to keep safe. She described the heightened sense of fear felt by people in her community.
I think everybody right now is trying to either understand what the future awaits us. So there is a lot of uncertainty. People are, of course, afraid of war and everything. And with the continued bloodshed, nobody can continue to work or function as a human being. So people are pretty much trying to plan out things right now.
Do you think it is even possible that the Taliban have in some way changed?
They have a better PR now. They have a very good PR. They can speak English. They can talk to the international media. But I don't think so they have changed in other ways, because if they are what they say on their press conferences and what they are doing on the ground, two different narratives, two different things going on. If they have changed so much, they would let the girls in Herat go to their university. If they have changed so much, they would let the girls in private schools in Kandahar go back to their schools, right? If they are so okay with everything, why don't they appoint a women leader so that people can talk to them, ladies can talk to them? So all these different narratives on the ground, it's a grave reality that they haven't changed. They are the same people.
And what is the situation actually on the ground? I mean, are you very conscious that they are around? Do you see them?
On the ground right now, they're just patrolling. And I guess that's the only thing they're good at. People are fearful. My staff member, he tells me that his niece is so scared to go to school that even if the schools open up, she won't go. So people need a surety. What they do and what they're trying to say, two different narratives.
What is actually happening on the streets?
In ground reality, they are just like, roaming around patrolling. And that's not even the issue. The issue is all that lies in the public administrative offices. When do schools start? If schools start, what are the timings? How do the girls go to schools? What are the assurances that they need? All these things need to be answered now, right now. And at the same time, about women, working women. There are teachers, there are principals, there are women in public administrative offices. What about them? Can they resume their jobs? If so, what are the assurances that they need? And what can they do to make sure that they happen, right? So all these two different narratives that needs to happen if they claim to be changed, and at the same time, if they want to hold on to power.
What about your job? Have you been in touch with your students? Are they able to get in touch with you?
No, not at all, because the schools are closed and our schools open in 2 weeks. So we are still waiting on that. But at the same time, I'm not very hopeful, because right now they're tearing down posters from the public and private schools in Kandahar. So I don't think so. It's a very hopeful way for the public schools either.
What is the biggest threat, do you think, to you and to your students?
For a fact that whatever we believed in Afghanistan is now just becoming part of history, and that won't continue, and the world will stand by and not listen. And at the same time, the leaders that have taken over the country as hostage would make the world believe that no, they are doing everything by us right, and they won't.
If you could speak to a leader, let's say our leader, who happens to be Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, what would you say to him? What would you say? What do you want him to do? Him
and people like him stood by when the Doha deal was legitimized, when these Taliban were legitimized. Maybe it's time now to use your influence, because you do send Afghanistan aid, right? Use that influence, use the aid as leverage to make the Taliban accept educational rights, working women rights, and that Afghan women are as much as Afghan as any other person or leader in Afghanistan.